What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. I'm Bucky Brooks, and I'm joined by my guy, Lance Z, stepping in for DJ. Lance, what's going on? How's H-Town putting it down?
It's good. It's good. We're just doing something you're not doing right now, which is advancing in the playoffs, advancing in those Major League Baseball playoffs again.
Such haters. I just saw the thing, and we won't talk about baseball long. We'll get to these rookie impact scores in the game of the week, but I just saw a thing where I did not know that the Astros have been to 7 straight championship series. That's kind of crazy. Dusty Baker has it going. I saw them getting after it. My Dodgers fell kaput, went flat on their face, and so it is now basketball season and football season in LA. The Dodgers are all done. So, and look, I want to get on this, Lance. And we'll do it using the guise of the rookie scores because I got to ask you about CJ Stroud in a minute. But first, our guy, Jack Andrade, he came up with the most impactful rookies based on score and those things. And you have Devin Achane, Sam Laporta, Jaleel McLaughlin, CJ Stroud, Jordan Addison were guys that were on that list. And so because CJ Stroud is on that list and because CJ Stroud is evidently that dude, hey, man, how is H-Town feeling about their franchise quarterback?
Man, they're very high on him. This is a thing where people, originally were upset that the Texans missed out on the first pick of the draft because of a missed interception by the safety from the Colts. And Lovey screwed it up. Even when he wins, Lovey Smith screws it up. And so now we don't get the first pick. And then, the Texans traded a bunch of draft picks for Will Anderson, who might have been the second pick if they hadn't have actually decided they wanted to go quarterback as well, which then necessitated a trade up. But I think once they got started, once the regular season got started, you got to see that you had a quarterback who was actually able to throw the ball effectively down the field, take care of the football, not make mistakes, not take a bunch of sacks. You got to remember you had Derek Carr who David Carr who got sacked a ton when he was the first quarterback, set NFL records. Then you had Deshaun Watson, who was really exciting for Houston. Really, really exciting. Then he had the injury his rookie year. But Deshaun always, it was always a battle to try to win from the pocket. He made a lot of plays off schedule, which are great. They're fun to see, but it's hard to be sustainable when you're always doing that. Then you get CJ Stroud in here, and you pair him with an offense that I think really plays best to what he's capable of doing. And he's throwing with great accuracy. He's not taking sacks unnecessarily. He's getting rid of the ball. He's not throwing it. It still doesn't have an interception through 5 games, which is an NFL record. And fans are excited. They're really excited. This has been a team. I think the Houston Texans, even when they were winning divisions, Bucky, they were kind of I think the Astros' success starting in 2017 and this long run, people have just they didn't like Bill O'Brien. The Texans didn't feel like a team, when you compared them to the Astros that understood how to build towards a championship. And now with DeMeco Ryans, and I think you have to mention DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans coming in along with CJ Stroud has really ignited the city of Houston from a football standpoint. It's got people excited about going to NFL games again, which has not been the case. Honestly, since COVID, people have not cared about the Texans at all. And CJ's helped change that a lot.
So here's the thing, Lance, and it's one of those things where when you're going through the process, you talk so much about it on TV, the quarterback, which one would you take, back and forth, and having come up with both of those, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, and watching CJ Stroud's growth, I've always felt like it was 1A, 1B, that they were really tight. It should have been a very, very hotly contested debate about which one. And so you kind of hear all the other stuff. He falls into that S2 trap, and people talked about his cognitive skills, and he can't diagnose it, and all of the garbage that goes around that, right? And then you watch him play, Lance, and you watch him play. And look, I had a front row seat for it when they got their first win against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he didn't have 4 of his offensive linemen with him. I don't know who he had on the perimeter besides Tank Dell, and he is carving the Jaguars up to the point that after the game, the defense is like, man, we underestimated him. Like, he's way better than we thought. The coaching staff is talking about how good he is, how poised he is. The fact that he hasn't turned the ball over and that it never got it doesn't seem like the game is too big. I mean, we're looking at Bryce Young, and it's a different set of circumstances. But, man, the game looks big for him down in Carolina. CJ, meanwhile, is kind of playing on a 33 record pace and never skips a beat. And he's done it with, I would say, a lesser supporting cast. It's been really impressive to watch.
Really impressive. And that game in particular, and I went through and watched all his snaps. Wife ran the Berlin Marathon, so I was out of town for a couple of Sundays where I missed out on some pro football. So I dug back in and I was watching all the snaps, watching all of CJ Stroud snaps. And one of the things that stands out to me is that, I've had conversations with Brandon, I think it's Ellie, who's one of the guys who created the S2. And it's not an intelligence test. It's, as you mentioned, a cognitive processing test that's very big in baseball. For example, they use it for people. One of the things they do is can you see the baseball? How do you see the baseball coming out of the hands? How quickly can you process that so that you have better plate discipline? It's a fascinating conversation with these guys. And they also did it with a college team with drug testing to find out how much better the cognitive processing was when a player who had tested positive for drug testing was then clean. And those numbers, as you can imagine, were much higher, much better. So there's a lot that goes into it. I think more was made out of it in the media than maybe was made out of it from the guys who created the S2 test, who will tell you it's just one little piece of it. But I think that, one of the things that is impressive to me is that, it measures risk reward. The S2 does. CJ Stroud, he may have scored low, I guess. I don't know. But his risk reward, watching him on tape, is very good. It's been very good. I already know he's an accurate passer, the most accurate passer in the draft by far. But what I've been really impressed with is he's thinking quickly in terms of he has a post-snap plan of where he wants to go at the ball. Now, eventually, I expect it to get more aggressive, where he will start to be comfortable with the defense and say, you know what, I'm going to try this intermediate throw here. I'm going to challenge this throw. But he's spent 5 games into the NFL, and already he's figured out, I'm going to take what the defense gives me. If you mess around and the safeties try to come up, we're going to take some shots down the field if we need to. But I've just been really impressed with his ability to process what the defense is doing and then make the smart play. He's made so many smart plays. And I don't think people understand, Bucky, you will, to be a rookie quarterback in a new offense with new terminology and to try to get used to taking snaps under center from time to time as well. And then he doesn't turn the ball over. Like, that's in 5 games, that's almost unheard of. That's extremely difficult to do. And you can't do that without a player who values football. He's not taking sacks. Like, he's not – and you just mentioned it. Dude, he was with 4 starting offensive linemen out, 4 offensive linemen. He had guys who are not even going to be in the league in 2 years who were protecting him for 2 games in a row where he was not sacked at all. So, yeah, people need to understand that the quarterback position, it's more than just making this throw or that throw. He's managing ball games. He is being a play manager, a game manager. He is being and if you listen to him in his post-game interviews, he's got a great football IQ. Just really has a great sense of what defenses are trying to do to him. There was a story I heard out there from a trusted source who said, CJ wasn't he's the guy who needs to really truly believe that ball at a very high level because he feels like he knows that. And there were some questions about, coachability at Ohio State where he just pretty much trusted Ryan Day, the play caller, and that was his guy. And, maybe he wasn't as tuned in with the offensive coordinator or whatever. It was more just the guy who was running the offense. He's been great with Bobby Slowick, the offensive play caller for the Houston Texans. Credits Bobby for a lot of things and really has understood how to manage the quarterback position. So I've watched Bryce Young, I've watched Anthony Richardson, but when it's all said and done, right now, first, it's just 5 games, but CJ Stroud's playing like a veteran. And he's the only one that's playing like a veteran out of the rookie.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you bring that up because let's dig deeper into the class that the Texans have because it's not only CJ Stroud. You brought up Will Anderson. How about some of the other guys that they have that are absolutely balling? Tank Dell,
Man,
You just see that just all their guys, they've been nailing them. And
it's been a good draft. Will Anderson has been a very good leader. He's a locker room leader and a leader on the field. He brings that Nick Saban mentality of this is what it's really. I say Nick Saban. It's really more mirroring DeMeco Ryans if you really want to know the truth, because he believes that I think the reason DeMeco really wanted Will Anderson is because he may see some of himself in Will Anderson. And this is a guy who is going to help me change the culture on this team into a winning culture. He's got to rush the quarterback better, Bucky. I think he's got to find ways to get to the quarterback. He's got to get more creative. But he's had a good year. Henry To'oTo'o from Alabama has done a nice job as well. He's a guy that when I watched him, I questioned his sideline to sideline speed, but he's a very technically sound and smart inside linebacker, and he's done a really nice job. But as you mentioned, Tank Dell, man, the pre-draft process, if once you saw Tank for the first time, if you didn't watch him at University of Houston and then you saw him at the Senior Bowl, there's no way you could ignore Tank Dell. If you just turned on tape and you hadn't watched games on TV and you turned on tape and focused on Tank Dell, it was like, dude, people can't cover him. You can't cover him. Now, I'm going to ask you this question because you've been on teams and you understand that size does matter in the NFL oftentimes. Tank is out this week. More than likely, he's going to be out this week. And he was knocked out of last week's game with a concussion. He did a great job of pulling the ball up off the ground and securing it into his chest, but landed, as he was coming down, he landed on his head, and he has a concussion. He's a guy that played in the 150s at Houston. He weighed in the low 160s at the combine. Should this be an immediate concern for the Texans that they have a small wide receiver with a concussion, with his first NFL concussion 5 weeks into his rookie season?
Yeah, I mean, look, man, you try not to put that on him. I think you're more worried if he has some other stuff before that happened. But it's one of the things with size guys, and you can't really talk about the head, but durability is a huge factor. I mean, if we're talking about Tank Dell, but we mentioned Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson has been banged up in 3 of the games that they played, and he a bigger guy. Yeah, and so with Tank Dell, the thing that I would say, watching him, man, he went to work on the Jacksonville Jaguars. He went to work the entire training camp. Every time you watched him in preseason, he was just getting open time and time again. And the fact that he and C.J. Stroud have this connection, but man, you're willing to live with it. This rookie class for the Houston Texans, not only from their talent, but from their attitude, demeanor, they have completely flipped the culture. And it's one of the more impressive collections of young guys that we've seen. And we'll go and mention the Arizona Cardinals. They're young guys. Never thought that the Cardinals would be as competitive as they've been.
Right.
You've seen the New Orleans Saints get contributions from their rookies and those guys. And so we'll continue to monitor these rookie classes and how they're impacting it, because we're seeing guys are making plays right out the gate. And when you get that, it certainly helps you.
So you're mentioning, you look at what Houston's done. They drafted good football players. C.J. Stroud's a good football player. Will Anderson's a good football player. Tank Dell, if you're worried about his size, and you passed up on him, that dude is a really, really good football player. And he can work all 3 levels of the defense. Tank Dell is able to separate underneath. He has very good catch focus, as we saw against Jacksonville, where he widened out the corner and then, hit a little post route. Widen them, hit the little stem, separated, and then with 3 defenders around him, tracked the ball, adjusted his path, and made the catch with all that traffic around him. I mean, Tank is going to be a major, major factor in the NFL for years to come. But the Texans focused on getting good football players. They didn't just – and look, I'm big into traits and all that too. But at some point, like you look at Aiden Hutchinson, the Hutchinson versus Walker debate, I mean – Aiden Hutchinson was a really good football player, and he had traits too. He was an explosive athlete, but man, that's just it was you knew what you were getting.
It is remarkable how it seems like every year we go away from it, but then we come back to the discussion. Guys who are good football players in high school, guys who are good football players in college, they can be good football players in the pros. Yep. And so you talk about Tank Dell, you talk about what the Houston Texans have put a premium on, guys who had performance and production that showed up on tape, not projections, but you saw it. And it's something about it. I mean, look, it's kind of funny because you talk about Aiden Hutchinson, and all Aiden Hutchinson does every week is sack the quarterback and do a Michael Jackson dance. and it's the same stuff that he did. It's the same stuff that he did at Michigan. And it's funny to me, Lance, because we're hearing these conversations and everybody evidently is blown away by Jalen Carter. And I'm like, did you not look at the tape? Like, did you not look at the tape? I mean, so to me, it's, look, as long as we keep the main thing, how do they play? How do they perform when they got the pads on? When you do that, more times than not, you can get the evaluation right. It just kind of continues to happen again and again.
Yeah. Guys who beat blockers for sacks and who can do it in a very, not just bull rushers, but guys who understand how to rush, they're going to understand how to rush on the next level. Guys who score touchdowns like Tank Dell, who are explosive, they're going to do that on the next level. And I think that, you certainly want to project talent. I mean, the Colts did that with Anthony Richardson. He looks like a good football player. He just has to stay on the field. Like Richardson, to me, is playing much. Speaking of rookie classes, Anthony Richardson, I thought, was playing much better football as a passer than I expected. He's come along a little bit as a passer. It's just a matter of this is 3 different injuries for him, and this one's going to last quite a while. So,
my thing with Anthony Richardson is I think he got unfairly pegged to Cam Newton. And I think the one thing that people have to realize when it came to Cam Newton as a runner, there's instincts that come along with running. And when I look at Anthony Richardson, I don't know if he's a naturally instinctive runner because the shots that he takes. So like the shots that he takes full frontal blast. I mean, good runners, like when you look at Lamar Jackson never takes a solid shot. It's always, I feel the people around, I get down, I get skinny, I turn my shoulders, I duck up under. There's an innate feel that they know, okay, somebody's coming in. Their spidey senses go off and they get down. I don't believe that Anthony Richardson possesses those instincts, and that's why we're seeing him take shot after shot after shot. And so at some point, he's going to have to learn how to avoid those big shots, or Shane Steichen and the staff are going to have to take the ball out of his hand and help himself by not putting him in those bad situations.
Yeah, you're right. You look at Russell Wilson. For years, it's been hard to get a good shot on Russell Wilson. Just, first of all, a baseball player who understands how to slide, but he had that innate sense of being able to dodge traffic when it was coming in. Great goal line backs have it. Emmitt Smith was fantastic at being able to – but sometimes I've seen big backs who have it too, where there's just – when you see it on tape, you recognize it very quickly, like, oh, this guy understands how to get into that hole or how to fit that hole. It's the same thing with quarterbacks understanding how to stay away from trouble, and running backs how to stay away from trouble. If you're always looking to take on collisions, you may be spectacular, but your career won't be long. And if you're a quarterback, you're going to be out. I mean, you're going to miss games, and so that's even more devastating. But the quarterback class, I don't know that we'll see Will Levis a whole lot this year. I think these other 3 guys, when Richardson gets back, I'm interested in seeing him. I thought that even though, what I did like though, Bucky, I liked that Bryce Young kept playing, and Carolina kept. They were getting blown out last week, but Bryce had a touchdown to Adam Thielen late in the game. It was like a big deal that Bryce had another, a multi-touchdown passing game, and that's good. Every snap there is no such thing as a garbage time. The Texans are losing by 10 to the Colts late in the game, and CJ was completions, and I heard people say, how disappointing is this? They're 0-2 now, and CJ Stroud, that was a bunch of garbage yards, and they may have made the wrong pick. And all I could think of was there's no such thing as garbage time for a rookie quarterback, number one. And number two, man, you have to I know fans aren't going to let things play out, but these guys need time to let it play out. That's why we're so excited about Stroud, is because it's highly unusual to play this level of intelligent football this early in a career.
It is. It's such a fascinating discussion. I'm really excited about the rookie class. Can't wait to continue to talk about it.
Can I ask you about Devin Achane right now? So he went from Achane, which I was used to at A&M, which I kind of liked. I kind of like Achane. It sounds like A-Train.
Yeah.
To Achane. So now he's Achane. But, man, I watched him a lot at A&M. He was very, very good, very explosive. But as soon as I saw he was drafted by the track team known as Miami Dolphins with Mostert, Waddle, and Tyreek. By the way, 3 of those 4 guys, including Achane, were legitimate college sprinters. Like, this is a real track team. And as soon as I knew he was drafted by that team, all I could think of was, oh my God, Mike McDaniel, he got himself a dangerous, dangerous weapon for his play calling.
No, so here's the thing. And once again, Lance, we talk about good football players, right? So I'll say this, like a lot of times when I scout, before I even put down the dimensions, I like to watch the tape. And so I remember watching, you watch Zach Charbonnet, then you watch Dwayne McBride, then you watch like Tank Bisbee. Then I was like, oh, pop in the A&M tape. And then you pop in H&M, you're like, is it the film sped up? Like he's going. And so Lance, you make the evaluation, you put the grade on him before you look at the dimensions. I'm like, man, I love this guy. Like, this is my guy. I got to have him or whatever. And then they're like, oh, he's light though. Oh, he's little. He's 180, 185 pounds. So now you begin to kind of like, me and you, we have these conversations. DJ comes in, you start massaging, like, yeah, he's little though. And
yeah, historically it doesn't work. And
but then the football player though. The football player, man, he had it all. He had balance, he had body control, he had vision, burst, all of it. And then what happens? He goes to the right situation. He gets an opportunity in Miami, and all he does is carve opponents up. And yet now I know he's sitting out, but this dude is explosive, man. He's just an explosive playmaker.
Over 10 yards a carry. He was averaging over 10 yards a carry. He already had like seven rushing touchdowns already. And he gets him out of the backfield.
High school numbers he's putting up.
Yeah.
10 yards a pop. Like just
NFL guys.
Going bananas. And so it's just one of those things, man. We'll continue to talk about it. I love it. I love how he's playing. I love how a lot of these rookies are playing, and we'll do it. So let's go to a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the move to sixth game of the week. A lot of excitement. Buccaneers, Lions. We'll talk about that when we come back. It's time for the MTS game of the week presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. This week, it's the Lions at the Buccaneers. The spread is -3, favoring the Lions. The over-under is 43.5. LZ, I know you're one of those guys. We can't put it down because of where we work and all this, but you pay close attention to it. You've been looking at the Bucs. You've been looking at the Lions because you've been talking about Aiden Hutchinson. Give me your thoughts. What do you think on this matchup?
Well, I think that, when you look at the first thing that pops out to me is that Baker Mayfield looks like he's finally not having to live up to 1-1, right? He's not first pick of the first round anymore. He is Baker Mayfield, the guy who's trying to get his career back. And he's playing like somebody who's relaxed. He's playing like somebody who has a better feel for the game. And he is, and frankly, he is playing like a guy who is trying to resurrect his career and have a second career with maybe looking at him differently. Maybe not, as the guy in all the TV commercials and who's got social media, Instagram posts that have some drama in them. He's just going out and playing ball, and he's playing relaxed. And I think it's, you have really good wide receivers over there. So it's been nice to see a younger quarterback kind of find his footing again and be a viable quarterback in the NFL. I know he had a great game with the Rams last year that surprised everybody on short notice. And now he's played well over there with Tampa. But I think that when you look at Tampa defensively, I watched him against Jalen Carter and the Eagles. I think they're going to really, really struggle against this Lions front because the Lions they come downhill on you defensively. They're going to look to attack that offensive line, and I think it's going to be a real challenge for Tampa to keep Baker from being pressured too much. I think the pressure is going to be intense, and I got to say, man, what a job of picking up Montgomery, because that has been one of the biggest. I think finding a running back, instead of saying we're going to use 2 or 3 running backs like they had over the last 2 or 3 years, the Lions have said, okay, we got Jahmyr Gibbs now. We got Montgomery, who's our banger and who can handle short yardage and really can handle a heavy workload. And we're still going to just keep bringing Jahmyr Gibbs in at a normal pace. Man, I think they're built to take on Dan Campbell's personality full time now. And Jared Goff is another quarterback that's had a renaissance, so to speak. But make no mistake about it, their ability to run the ball and then beat you with their front seven, and beat you with their offensive line, winning in the trenches, has been the calling card of the Lions' resurgence.
Man, I love the physicality and toughness that they bring. I also love when Dan Campbell, it was funny because it seemed like a shtick before.
Did you know him at all? Know Campbell at all?
I didn't know him at all, but man, I'm gonna tell you, each and every week I'm more impressed with the job that he's done. Last year, Hard Knocks gave us a behind the scenes look at how he's putting together the team. But this is an old school team with old school values, a blue collar approach that matches the city. And man, they want to bloody your nose, and they make no bones about it. They want to bloody your nose. This is an old school team that believes that they can really um, outlast you in a physical affair, and that's what they're doing. And I'll say this because their physicality, toughness, their ability to run the football, that dominant offensive line, because that's where people are missing. The secret sauce for the Lions,
Yes.
that offensive line is a top 5 offensive line.
Yes.
When they want to, they take over the game. You know, Penei Sewell and that crew, they take over the game. We saw it the first week when they knocked off the Kansas City Chiefs. When it got down to it, they said, hey, we're going to play big boy ball and we're going to mash you. And that's what they're able to do. And Lance, you're right about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield's done a really good job of controlling the action, being really a high-end game manager, which is great because that's what he is. He's kind of shared that, hey, I'm the number 1 overall pick. I'm going to show you. Like, no, now it's about me staying in the league and being a starter. I'm going to do what I need to do. But this Lions team, they're going to give them problems because offensively, they're going to punch them in the mouth. And in defensive, they're going to rattle their cages because when in doubt, they try and knock them out. And so that's how they play. That's what they're going to do. To me, this is a close game. I just got the Lions kind of taking it over in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it'll turn into a bit of a boat race where you're going to see the Lions take the lead. And I think you're right. I think it will be relatively close, but I just think that it may be tough for Tampa to, I think third down conversions could be tough for Tampa if they don't find – they may have to work backwards and throw early, throw on first downs to try to loosen up, even if it's little hitch routes, a little quick, maybe getting the tight end involved. But you're going to have to keep the down and distance in a favorable measure because if not, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, I think, based on the matchups that are up front. I still, looking at that division, man, the Lions could end up cruising if Minnesota doesn't pull it together. The Packers just do not. They miss their quarterback, obviously, their former quarterback. And then the Bears, I was happy to see the Bears get a win. I like Ryan Poles, the general manager. I think that, it's been fun seeing Justin Fields after saying that, he made a comment about I read it as not wanting to stay and work from structure and work off structure. And yet he's been in structure and succeeding the last 2 weeks. So even after his initial frustration, I think he and Luke Getsy have done a great job of working together to find a game plan that works for Justin Fields. But looking at Tampa in that division, man, that's that division. I'm sorry, not Tampa, but rather the Lions in that division. That is. I'm waiting for a second team to pop up. Like, who's the second team going to be? This feels like it's going to be the Lions. And my question would be, how high can the Lions go? How likely are the Lions to take that next major step?
Yeah, no, this is a team. They look like they're built to last. And one of the reasons why they may be built to last is because they have a legitimate high-end quarterback in Jared Goff. And I know there were a lot of laughs and snickers and those things about whether he could play or not, but he's a really good player. I think we have seen him be a good player. He needs to be supported like most quarterbacks, but in Detroit, it certainly works. And as long as they're able to kind of get the game on their terms where they can kind of dictate how the game is going to be played at the line of scrimmage, I think they're hard out, man. I think they're hard out just because of their style of play. And DJ mentioned this on Monday or Tuesday's pod. They're kind of like the 49ers light, in terms of how they want to beat you up. They don't have the personnel, but in terms of style of play, They beat you up pretty good. And if you're not ready for that, you're going home with an L.
Yeah, and they're going to keep building on that through the draft. I mean, all they're going to do is just keep fortifying. But I also think it's a great lesson for people to learn that it doesn't have to look like the Miami Dolphins with all these explosive guys around you. It doesn't have to look like the Chiefs with Pat Mahomes, where you have to find your next Mahomes. Like, you can still win football by being good in the trenches, by being tough, and by finding guys who know their role, play smart football like Goff is playing right now. And then, as you mentioned, you got to fortify around them, though. Like, they're not going to necessarily elevate those around them. But if you get somebody as a cruise ship director and he is just doing his job with all the nice amenities here and there, you've got yourself a chance to win at a high level. That's still a way to win football games, is through toughness and through developing a well-balanced kind of you remember the Pistons of the early 2000s? They didn't have stars. They had a bunch of really good players. Rip Hamilton. They had Chauncey Billups. They had
Rasheed Wallace.
Rasheed Wallace. They had Ben Wallace. No one was a superstar, but they were all really good. I kind of feel like that's what I'm looking at with Detroit.
No, you're absolutely looking at it. So we'll see. I love kind of breaking down the game of the week. That was the MCS Game of the Week presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code MCS. That's code MCS only at DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Lance, man, you know I love having you on. Every time you come on, I love getting to the draft and those things. You know what, Lance, man, this was so good. I might have to bring you back and do another pod.
But that's
I
got some time. We don't start our playoff run until we don't start the ALCS until Sunday, so I got time, Bucky. Let me know.
Yeah, like I may have to call you tomorrow, Lance, to see if I can get you on and see if you can come back and talk more football or whatever. That's it, guys. We'll check you out next time.